My husband brought his mistress to our anniversary dinner. She wore my necklace. His mother called me dramatic for crying. They all laughed when I said I wanted a divorce. But when the judge opened my folder in court, their faces went white. What I had been hiding for 6 months destroyed them all. Before we begin, write in the comments what city you're watching from. And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy watching. I stood outside the restaurant for a full minute before I walked in. My hands were shaking. I had spent 2 hours getting ready. I wore the blue dress Marcus said he loved. I curled my hair. I put on the perfume he bought me last Christmas. It was our 5th anniversary. 5 years of marriage. I thought tonight would be different. I thought maybe he would remember, maybe he would care. I pushed open the heavy glass door and stepped inside. The restaurant was beautiful, soft lighting, candles on every table, the kind of place where people celebrated love. I told the hostess my husband's name. She smiled and led me through the room. My heels clicked on the marble floor. I could smell garlic and wine. I could hear laughter. I felt nervous but hopeful. Stupid. Stupid. Then I saw him. Marcus was sitting at a corner table. He was laughing. His head was thrown back. He looked relaxed, happy, but he was not alone. There was a woman sitting next to him. She was young, maybe 25, long dark hair, red lips. She was wearing a black dress that hugged her body, and around her neck was my necklace. The one Marcus gave me on our wedding day. The one I kept in a velvet box on my dresser. The one I thought was safe. I stopped walking. My chest tightened. The hostess kept moving. She did not notice I was frozen. She did not notice I could not breathe. And then I saw his mother. Margaret sat across from them. She was smiling. Not the polite smile you give strangers. No, she was smiling like she was proud, like this was exactly where she wanted to be. She raised her wine glass and clinked it against the woman's glass. They laughed together. Marcus laughed with them. I felt my stomach drop. The hostess turned around and looked at me. She raised her eyebrows. I forced my legs to move. One step, then another. I walked to the table. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. Marcus saw me first. His smile faded. Just for a second. Then he put it back on. Fake. Practiced. "Oh, you're here," he said. Not happy, not surprised, just flat. I stared at him, then at the woman, then at his mother. "What is this?" I asked. My voice sounded small, weak. Margaret set down her wine glass. She tilted her head like I was a child asking a silly question. "Sit down, dear. You're making a scene." I did not sit. I looked at Marcus. "Who is she?" The woman smiled, slow, cruel. She leaned back in her chair and crossed her arms. "I'm Claire," she said. Her voice was smooth, confident. "You must be the wife." She said wife like it was a joke. I looked at Marcus again. He would not meet my eyes. He picked up his fork and moved food around his plate. "Marcus," I said. My voice cracked. "What is going on?" Margaret sighed. She stood up and walked around the table. She put her hand on my shoulder. I flinched. "Sweetheart," she said softly, "you need to calm down. This is not a big deal. Marcus is a man. Men have needs. You should be grateful he still comes home to you at all." I stared at her. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. "Grateful?" She said grateful. Claire leaned forward. She rested her chin on her hand. She looked me up and down. "He was never really yours," she whispered. Something inside me snapped. I turned to leave. I needed to get out. I needed air. But before I could take a step, Marcus grabbed my wrist. Hard. Not to comfort me, not to apologize, to stop me. "Sit down," he said through his teeth. "You're embarrassing me." I looked down at his hand on my wrist. Then I looked at his face. The face I used to love. The face I used to trust. Now it was a stranger's face. "Let go of me," I said. "Not until you sit down and act like an adult." Margaret nodded. "He's right. You're overreacting." Claire laughed, a soft, mocking sound. I yanked my wrist free. Marcus let go, but his jaw was tight. He was angry. At me. Like I was the problem. I did not sit, I did not cry, not yet. I pulled my phone out of my purse. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. I opened my messages, I found my lawyer's name, I typed 4 words: start the paperwork. I hit send, then I looked at Marcus, at his mother, at the woman wearing my necklace. I want a divorce, I said. The table went silent. Claire's smile disappeared. Margaret's eyes went wide. Marcus laughed. Actually laughed. You don't mean that, he said. I smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had finally seen the truth. Watch me, I said. Then I turned and walked out of that restaurant. I did not look back. I did not wait for him to chase me, because I knew he would not. Outside, the night air hit my face. I stood on the sidewalk and let the tears fall. My chest hurt, my hands shook, but somewhere deep inside I felt something else: relief. I pulled out my phone again. My lawyer had already replied. I'll have the papers ready by Monday. I nodded to myself. I wiped my face. I straightened my shoulders. This was not the end. This was the beginning. I drove home in silence. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. The city lights blurred past me. I did not turn on the radio. I did not cry anymore. I just drove. The streets I knew by heart suddenly felt unfamiliar, like I was a stranger in my own life. When I pulled into the driveway, the house was dark. Marcus was still at that restaurant, still with her, still with his mother. Celebrating what? My humiliation? I unlocked the front door and stepped inside. The air smelled stale, cold. This house used to feel warm, safe. Now it felt like a cage. I dropped my purse on the floor and kicked off my heels. My feet ached. My head ached. Everything ached. I walked through the living room, past the couch where we used to watch movies together, past the bookshelf filled with pictures of us smiling, lies, all of it. I wanted to smash every frame, but I did not yet. I climbed the stairs slowly. Each step felt heavier than the last. When I reached the top, I stopped. The guest bedroom door was open. I never left it open. I walked toward it. My heart started racing again. I pushed the door wider and turned on the light. The bed was unmade, the sheets were wrinkled, twisted, and on the pillow was a smell I recognized immediately: his cologne. But it was mixed with something else, something sweet, floral, perfume, her perfume. I stood there staring at the bed. He brought her here, to our house, to the room down the hall from where I slept, where I trusted him, where I believed we were building a life together. My phone buzzed in my hand. I looked down. It was Margaret, his mother. I almost did not answer, but something made me press the green button. Hello, I said. My voice was flat. You need to stop being so dramatic, Margaret said. No greeting, no kindness, just her sharp voice cutting through the line. Excuse me? You embarrassed Marcus tonight, in front of everyone. You made a scene. I laughed. I could not help it. It came out bitter and hard. I made a scene? He brought his mistress to our anniversary dinner. Oh, grow up, Margaret snapped. Marriage is not about feelings. It is about endurance. It is about commitment. You think I loved every moment with Marcus's father? Of course not. But I stayed. I endured. That is what wives do. I closed my eyes. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the phone across the room. I am not you, I said quietly. No, you are weak. And if you leave him, you will regret it. You will have nothing, no one. Marcus is the best thing that ever happened to you. I hung up. I did not say goodbye. I just pressed the red button and let the silence fill the room again. I stood there for a long time. Then I walked to our bedroom. My bedroom. I did not know what to call it anymore. I opened the closet. I pulled out a small suitcase from the top shelf. I set it on the bed. Then I started pulling out drawers, one at a time. I did not pack clothes, not yet. I packed documents: my birth certificate, my passport, our marriage license, bank statements, credit card bills. I took photos of everything on my phone first. Then I tucked the papers into a folder and hid it at the bottom of the suitcase. I moved quietly, carefully, like I was a thief in my own home. I heard the front door open. My body froze. I looked at the clock. It was almost midnight. Marcus was home. I shoved the suitcase back into the closet and closed the door. Then I sat on the edge of the bed and waited. I heard his footsteps on the stairs. Slow, heavy. He was drunk. I could tell by the way he stumbled. The bedroom door opened. Marcus walked in. His tie was loose. His shirt was wrinkled. And he smelled like perfume. Her perfume. He looked at me. Then he smiled. Like nothing was wrong. Like tonight did not happen. "Hey," he said. "What's for dinner?" I stared at him. I could not believe what I just heard. "What?" I said. "Dinner! I am starving. Did you make anything?" I stood up slowly. My hands were shaking, not from fear, from rage. "You are asking me about dinner?" He shrugged. He walked to the dresser and started taking off his watch. "Yeah, I have not eaten since lunch. I thought you would have something ready." I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something at him, but I did not. I took a deep breath. I steadied myself. "I am not making you dinner, Marcus." He turned around. His face changed. The smile was gone. "What is your problem?" "My problem?" I laughed again. That same bitter sound. "You brought your mistress to our anniversary dinner. You let your mother insult me. You humiliated me in front of strangers. And now you are asking me what is for dinner." He rolled his eyes. Actually rolled his eyes. "You are being dramatic, just like my mother said." I did not respond. I just walked past him, out of the bedroom, down the hall, into the guest room, the room that smelled like betrayal. I closed the door behind me. I locked it. Then I sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out my phone. I opened the camera. I started taking pictures. The unmade bed, the wrinkled sheets, the cologne bottle on the nightstand. I went back to our bedroom when I heard him snoring an hour later. I took pictures of the receipts in his wallet, the texts on his laptop he thought I did not know the password to. Every lie, every secret, every piece of evidence I would need. I saved everything, I backed it up, I sent copies to my email. Then I lay down on the guest bed, the same bed he brought her to. I stared at the ceiling. My chest felt tight, but my mind was clear. I would not beg him to love me. I would not cry anymore. I would not fight for someone who did not want me. I would fight for myself. I woke up on the guest bed with my phone buzzing on the nightstand. The morning light was too bright. My eyes hurt. My whole body felt heavy. I reached for my phone and saw 17 missed calls, all from Marcus. I did not call him back. I sat up slowly. My neck was stiff from sleeping on the thin pillow. I could hear him downstairs. The coffee machine was running. He was moving around the kitchen like it was a normal Monday morning, like nothing had changed, but everything had changed. I took a shower, I got dressed, I put on jeans and a sweater, nothing fancy. I tied my hair back and did not bother with makeup. I did not care how I looked, I only cared about what I was going to do next. I grabbed my purse and the folder of documents I had hidden under the guest bed. Then I walked downstairs. Marcus was sitting at the kitchen table. He had his laptop open. He was drinking coffee. He looked up when he saw me. "Where are you going?" he asked. "Out," I said. "Out where?" "Does it matter?" He closed his laptop. His jaw tightened. "You have been acting crazy since last night. You need to calm down." I did not answer. I just walked past him and opened the front door. "Do not ignore me," he said. His voice was louder now, angrier. I stopped. I turned around and looked at him. "I am done talking to you, Marcus." Then I walked out and closed the door behind me. I sat in my car for a minute. My hands were shaking. I gripped the steering wheel and took a deep breath. Then I started the engine and drove. The cafe was 20 minutes away. It was small, quiet, the kind of place where people went to work on their laptops or read books. I had chosen it on purpose. I did not want to risk running into anyone I knew. I parked across the street and checked my phone. My lawyer had sent me a message. "I am here. Corner table by the window." I grabbed the folder and got out of the car. My legs felt weak. My heart was pounding. I pushed open the cafe door and the smell of fresh coffee hit me. I scanned the room and saw her. Rachel Bennett. She was in her 40s, sharp suit, short blonde hair. She looked calm, confident, the kind of person who did not lose. I walked over to her table. She stood up and shook my hand. "Thank you for meeting me," I said. My voice was quiet, shaky. "Of course. Sit down." I sat across from her and placed the folder on the table. My hands were still trembling. I pushed the folder toward her. "This is everything I have," I said. Rachel opened the folder. She did not say anything at first. She just flipped through the pages slowly. Her face stayed calm, professional, but I saw her eyebrows raise just a little when she got to the bank statements. She looked at the hotel receipts, the text message screenshots, the photos I had taken of the guest bedroom, the credit card bills showing charges for jewelry I never received, dinners I never attended, trips I never took. She closed the folder and looked at me. "This is more than enough," she said. I felt my chest tighten. I wanted to cry, but I held it back. "Are you sure?" I asked. "Absolutely. He used marital funds to support an affair. He was reckless, sloppy. This is exactly what we need." I nodded. I did not know what to say. Rachel leaned forward. She looked me directly in the eyes. "Can I really win?" I asked. My voice cracked. She smiled. Not a big smile, just a small, steady one. "You already have," she said. I felt something break inside me, but it was not a bad break. It was relief. It was hope. It was the first time in months I felt like maybe I was not crazy. Maybe I was not weak. Maybe I was right. My phone started buzzing on the table. I looked down. Marcus. Again. Rachel glanced at the screen. "How many times has he called today?" "Too many," I said. "Block him." I hesitated. My finger hovered over the screen. "Do it," Rachel said. "You do not owe him access to you anymore." I pressed the button. I blocked his number, just like that. It felt strange, final, but also freeing. My phone buzzed again, a text from Margaret. "You are ruining this family. You are selfish and ungrateful." I showed Rachel the message. She shook her head. "Block her too." I did. I blocked Margaret. I blocked anyone who made me feel small, anyone who made me feel like I was the problem. Rachel pulled out a notepad and started writing. "Here is what happens next," she said. "I will file the paperwork this week. You will be served divorce papers. So will he. Do not react. Do not engage. Let him be angry. Let him call you names. Let him try to manipulate you. None of it matters. What if he tries to fight it? He will. Men like him always do. But he does not have a case. The evidence is clear. He committed adultery. He misused marital assets. He has no moral or legal ground to stand on." I nodded. My hands had stopped shaking. Rachel looked at me again. Her voice was firm but kind. "Do not tell anyone what you are planning. Not your friends, not your family. Let them think you are still confused. Let them think you are weak. Let him think he still has control." "Why?" "Because the element of surprise is your greatest weapon. If he thinks you are broken, he will get careless. He will make mistakes. And we will use every single one of them against him." I felt a chill run down my spine. Not from fear, from power. Rachel closed her notepad and slid it into her bag. "You are doing the right thing," she said. "I know it does not feel like it right now. I know it hurts. But you are choosing yourself. And that takes more strength than most people will ever have." I wiped my eyes. I had not realized I was crying. "Thank you," I whispered. "Do not thank me yet. Thank me when this is over and you are free." We stood up. Rachel shook my hand again. This time I held on a little longer. I walked out of the cafe and into the bright sunlight. I stood on the sidewalk and looked up at the sky. The air felt different, cleaner, lighter. I pulled out my phone and checked my messages. No more calls from Marcus. No more texts from Margaret. Just silence. And for the first time in years, silence felt like peace. I spent the next 3 days pretending everything was normal. I went to work. I came home. I made dinner. I smiled when I needed to. I did not argue with Marcus. I did not ask questions. I let him think I had given up. But every night after he fell asleep, I stayed awake. I copied more files. I took more pictures. I documented everything, every lie, every receipt, every text message he thought he had deleted. Rachel was right. The element of surprise was my greatest weapon. On Thursday evening, I left work early. I was tired, my head hurt. I just wanted to go home, take a shower, and go to bed. I pulled into the driveway and noticed another car parked in front of the house, a small red sedan. I did not recognize it. I frowned. I grabbed my bag and walked to the front door. I unlocked it and stepped inside. The first thing I heard was laughter, female laughter. I froze. I set my bag down slowly and walked toward the living room. And there she was, Claire. She was sitting on my couch. My couch. She had her legs tucked under her. She was wearing sweatpants and a tank top. Like she lived here. Like she belonged here. In her hand was my favorite mug, the blue one with the chipped handle, the one I drank tea from every morning. She looked up at me and smiled. "Oh, you are home," she said. Her voice was light, casual, like we were old friends. I could not speak. I could not move. Marcus walked in from the kitchen. He had a bottle of beer in his hand. He saw me and stopped. "Hey," he said. "What is she doing here?" I asked. My voice was low, steady. He shrugged. He took a sip of his beer. "She is staying here for a while." I stared at him. "Excuse me?" "She got kicked out of her apartment. She needed a place to stay. I told her she could crash here for a few days." "You told her she could stay here?" "Yeah, in our house." "Yeah, you do not mind, do you?" I looked at Claire. She was watching me. That same smirk on her face, the same look she had at the restaurant. I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around. Margaret walked out of the kitchen. She was wearing an apron. She had a wooden spoon in her hand. "Oh, good. You are home," she said. "Dinner is almost ready. I made roast chicken." I looked at her, then at Marcus, then at Claire. "You are cooking dinner for her?" I asked Margaret. "Of course, she is our guest." Our guest. I felt my chest tighten. My hands started shaking, but I did not yell. I did not scream. I just stood there. Claire set down the mug on the coffee table. She stretched her arms above her head like she was getting comfortable. "You know," she said, looking at me, "you can leave any time. No one is stopping you." The room went silent. Marcus looked at Claire, then at me. He did not say anything. He did not defend me. He just took another sip of his beer. Margaret went back into the kitchen like nothing had happened. Then I turned around. I walked upstairs. I did not run. I did not cry. I just walked. I went into the bedroom. Our bedroom. I pulled a suitcase out of the closet. I threw it on the bed and unzipped it. I started packing. I grabbed clothes from the dresser. I did not fold them. I just shoved them into the suitcase. I took my toothbrush from the bathroom, my phone charger, my laptop, the folder of documents I had hidden under the mattress. I heard footsteps on the stairs. Marcus appeared in the doorway. "What are you doing?" he asked. I did not answer. I kept packing. "Are you seriously leaving?" I zipped up the suitcase. I turned around and looked at him. "Yes." "You are being ridiculous." "Am I?" "She is just staying here for a few days. It is not a big deal." I laughed. It was a short, bitter sound. "You moved your mistress into our house, Marcus. Your mother is downstairs cooking dinner for her, and you think I am being ridiculous." He crossed his arms. "Where are you going to go?" "That is none of your business. You are my wife." "Not for long." His face changed. His eyes narrowed. "What is that supposed to mean?" I picked up the suitcase. I walked toward the door. He stepped in front of me. "Move," I said. "Not until you tell me what you mean." "Move, now." He stared at me. For a moment, I thought he was going to grab me, but he did not. He stepped aside. I walked past him, down the stairs, through the living room. Claire was still sitting on the couch. She waved at me. Margaret poked her head out of the kitchen. "Where are you going, dear?" she asked. I did not answer. I just walked out the front door. I threw the suitcase into the back seat of my car. I got in. I started the engine. I did not look back at the house. I just drove. I did not know where I was going at first. I just drove until I saw a hotel sign, a small chain hotel off the highway. Nothing fancy, but it was clean. It was quiet. It was far away from them. I checked in. The woman at the front desk gave me a key card. I took the elevator to the third floor. I found my room and unlocked the door. It was small, a queen bed, a desk, a bathroom. It smelled like cleaning products and air freshener, but it was mine, just mine. I set the suitcase on the bed. I sat down next to it. I looked around the empty room, and then I cried. Not because I was sad, not because I missed him, but because I was angry. Angry that it had come to this. Angry that I had wasted 5 years on someone who did not love me. Angry that I had let myself believe I was the problem. After a few minutes, I wiped my face. I took a deep breath. Then I opened my laptop. I logged into my email. I found Rachel's name. I started typing. Let's move faster. I want this done as soon as possible. I hit send. Then I closed the laptop. I lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. For the first time in days, I felt calm. 2 weeks passed quickly. Too quickly. I stayed in the hotel room. I worked from my laptop. I avoided calls from people I used to know. I did not post anything on social media. I did not tell anyone where I was. I just waited. Rachel called me every few days with updates. The paperwork was filed. Marcus had been served. He hired a lawyer, a cheap one, someone who took his case because he paid up front. He thinks this will be easy, Rachel told me over the phone. He thinks you will back down. I will not, I said. I know. The court date was set for a Friday morning, 10 o'clock. Rachel sent me the address. She told me to dress professionally, to look calm, to not react no matter what Marcus or his lawyer said. They will try to provoke you, she warned. Do not give them anything. I promised her I would not. The night before the hearing, I barely slept. I lay in the hotel bed staring at the ceiling. My mind kept replaying every moment, every lie, every time I believed him, every time I thought I was the problem. But I was not the problem. He was. I woke up at 6. I took a long shower. I dried my hair. I put on a black dress. Simple, professional. I wore the smallest amount of makeup, just enough to cover the dark circles under my eyes. Then I put on sunglasses. Big ones. The kind that hid half my face. I looked at myself in the mirror. I barely recognized the woman staring back at me, but she looked strong. She looked ready. I grabbed my purse and walked out of the hotel room. The courthouse was downtown, a tall gray building with white columns. It looked cold, intimidating. I parked in the lot across the street and sat in my car for a minute. My hands were shaking. I gripped the steering wheel and took a deep breath. You can do this. I got out of the car and walked across the street. The morning air was cold. I pulled my coat tighter around me. I climbed the steps and pushed open the heavy door. Inside, the courthouse was busy. People in suits rushing past, security guards checking bags. I walked through the metal detector and found the elevator. I pressed the button for the third floor. When the doors opened, I saw Rachel waiting for me in the hallway. She was wearing a navy suit. Her hair was pulled back. She looked calm, confident. You ready? She asked. I nodded. Good. Remember, stay calm, do not react. Let me do the talking. Okay. We walked down the hallway together. My heels clicked on the tile floor. We stopped in front of a door with a small sign, Courtroom C. Rachel pushed open the door. The room was smaller than I expected. Wooden benches, a judge's desk at the front, a long table on each side. The walls were plain, boring. It did not feel like the place where my life was about to change, but it was. Rachel led me to the left side of the room. We sat down at the table. She pulled out her folder. It was thick, full of papers, evidence, everything we had collected. I set my purse on the floor and folded my hands on the table. I tried to steady my breathing. Then I heard voices. I turned around. Marcus walked in. He was laughing. Actually laughing. Claire was next to him. She was wearing a tight red dress. too tight, too bright for a courtroom. His mother was behind them. She had her arm linked with his. All three of them were smiling, like this was a joke, like they had already won. My stomach twisted. I felt Rachel's hand on my arm. "Do not look at them," she whispered. I turned back around. I stared at the table. I focused on breathing in, out, in, out. I heard them sit down on the other side of the room. I heard Claire giggle. I heard Margaret say something under her breath. I did not turn around. A man in a cheap suit walked in. Marcus's lawyer. He looked young, overconfident. He was holding a thin folder, almost empty. He set it on the table and sat down next to Marcus. Rachel leaned toward me. "See that?" she whispered. "He has nothing." I nodded. The door behind the judge's desk opened. A bailiff stepped out. "All rise," he said. Everyone stood up. The judge walked in. She was a woman in her 50s. Gray hair pulled into a bun, black robe. She had a serious face, no smile, no emotion. She sat down and looked at both sides of the room. "You may be seated," the bailiff said. We all sat. The judge opened a file on her desk. She flipped through a few pages. Then she looked up. "This is the matter of Bennett versus Bennett, dissolution of marriage. Are both parties present?" "Yes, Your Honor," Rachel said. "Yes, Your Honor," Marcus's lawyer said. His voice was too loud, too eager. The judge nodded. "We will begin with opening statements. Miss Bennett, you may proceed." Rachel stood up. She buttoned her jacket. She walked to the center of the room. She did not look nervous. She did not hesitate. "Your Honor, this is a straightforward case. My client, Mrs. Bennett, is seeking a divorce on the grounds of adultery and financial misconduct. We have substantial evidence proving that Mr. Bennett engaged in an extramarital affair and used marital funds to support his mistress. We also have evidence showing a pattern of emotional abuse and manipulation. My client is asking for a fair division of assets and full accountability for the harm caused." She sat back down. Marcus's lawyer stood up. He cleared his throat. He smiled at the judge. "Your Honor, my client denies these allegations. This is simply a case of a disgruntled spouse trying to punish her husband for personal grievances. We believe Mrs. Bennett is exaggerating the situation to gain a financial advantage. We ask that the court dismiss these claims and allow both parties to move forward amicably." He sat down. He looked pleased with himself. The judge looked at both lawyers. Then she looked at me. Then at Marcus. "Let us proceed with the evidence," she said. Rachel leaned over and whispered in my ear, "Trust me. Just stay calm." I nodded. I placed my hands flat on the table. My heart was racing, my palms were sweating, but my mind was clear. This was it. Rachel stood up. She walked to the center of the room. She held a single piece of paper in her hand. She looked at the judge. "Your Honor, I would like to present Exhibit A." She handed the paper to the bailiff. He walked it over to the judge. The judge put on her reading glasses and looked at the document. Her face stayed neutral, unreadable. Rachel turned to face the room. "This is a bank statement from Mr. and Mrs. Bennett's joint account. As you can see, there is a wire transfer dated March 15th of this year, $50,000. It was sent to an account under the name Claire Dawson." I heard Claire shift in her seat behind me. I did not turn around. I kept my eyes on Rachel. The judge looked up. "Ms. Dawson, are you present in this courtroom?" There was a pause. Then I heard Claire's voice, quiet, nervous. "Yes, Your Honor." "Did you receive this money?" Another pause. "Yes." "For what purpose?" Silence. The judge waited. She did not look away. She just stared at Claire until she answered. "It was a gift," Claire finally said. "A gift," the judge repeated. "From Mr. Bennett." "Yes." The judge looked back at the document. "And this was during his marriage to Mrs. Bennett." "Yes." The judge set the paper down. She looked at Marcus. His face was red. He was staring at the table. Rachel picked up another stack of papers. "Your Honor, I would like to present Exhibit B. These are credit card statements from the same joint account. Highlighted here are charges for hotel rooms, the Grand Vista Hotel, the Riverside Inn, the Lakeside Resort. There are 23 separate charges over the course of 18 months, all paid for with marital funds." She handed the stack to the bailiff. He gave it to the judge. The judge flipped through the pages slowly. She read each highlighted line out loud. March 10th, Grand Vista Hotel, $412. April 2nd, Riverside Inn, $387. May 20th, Lakeside Resort, $563. She kept reading. Each date, each hotel, each charge. Claire's smile was gone. She was staring at her hands. Marcus was gripping the edge of the table. His knuckles were white. Margaret stood up. Your Honor, this is... The judge looked at her. Just one look. Margaret stopped talking. She sat back down. The judge finished reading. She set the papers aside. Continue, Ms. Bennett. Rachel nodded. She picked up her phone. She turned to the judge. Your Honor, I would like to present Exhibit C. These are text messages between Mr. Bennett and Ms. Dawson. I have printed copies for the court. She handed a folder to the bailiff. He gave it to the judge. Rachel projected the messages onto a screen at the front of the room. Everyone could see them. The first message appeared. It was from Marcus to Claire. I cannot stand being home anymore. She is so boring. All she does is complain. The next message. I wish I could just leave, but she would take everything. Another one. You make me feel alive. She makes me feel dead. And another. I am booking us a trip to the coast next month. Do not tell anyone. She thinks I am at a work conference. The room was silent. I could hear people breathing. I could hear the clock on the wall ticking, but no one spoke. The judge read through every message. Her face stayed calm, but her jaw was tight. Then Rachel showed the last message. It was from Marcus to Claire. Dated just 2 weeks ago. She will never leave me. She has nowhere to go. She is too weak. I felt my chest tighten. I had read that message before, but seeing it on the screen in front of everyone made it real again, made it hurt again. I looked down at my hands. I would not cry. Not here, not in front of them. The judge took off her glasses. She looked at Marcus. Mr. Bennett, did you send these messages? Marcus did not answer. His lawyer leaned over and whispered something in his ear. Marcus shook his head. Mr. Bennett, the judge said again. Her voice was sharper now. I asked you a question. Marcus cleared his throat. His voice was barely a whisper. Yes. Speak up, please. Yes. I sent them. The judge nodded. She looked at his lawyer. Does the defense have anything to say? Marcus's lawyer stood up. He was flipping through his thin folder frantically. He looked panicked. He pulled out a single piece of paper. Your Honor, my client admits that mistakes were made, but this does not mean... Does your client deny the affair? The judge interrupted. The lawyer hesitated. No, Your Honor, but does your client deny using marital funds to support the affair? Your Honor, if I may answer the question. The lawyer looked at Marcus. Marcus was staring at the table. He said nothing. The lawyer sighed. No, Your Honor, he does not deny it. The judge leaned back in her chair. She folded her hands. Then I do not see what there is to defend. The lawyer sat down. He looked defeated. Rachel stood up again. Your Honor, I have one more exhibit, Exhibit D. She handed another document to the bailiff. The judge took it and read silently. This is a recorded phone conversation between Mr. Bennett and a friend. The conversation took place 3 months ago. In it, Mr. Bennett admits to the affair. He also admits to hiding assets and planning to file for divorce first in order to avoid a fair settlement. The judge looked up sharply. Is this true, Mr. Bennett? Marcus did not answer. Mr. Bennett, did you plan to file for divorce in order to avoid a fair division of assets? His lawyer stood up. Your Honor, my client invokes his right to... Down, the judge said. Her voice was cold, firm. The lawyer sat. The judge looked at Marcus for a long moment. Then she looked at me. Her expression softened, just a little. Mrs. Bennett, do you have anything you would like to say? I looked at Rachel. She nodded. I stood up slowly. My legs felt weak. I walked to the center of the room. I looked at the judge. Not at Marcus. Not at Claire. Not at Margaret. Just the judge. Your Honor, I said. My voice was steady, stronger than I expected. I loved my husband. I gave him 5 years of my life. I supported him. I trusted him. I believed him when he said he loved me, but he lied. He used our money to betray me. He brought his mistress into our home. He humiliated me in front of his family, and through it all, he made me feel like I was the problem, like I was not enough. But I am enough, and I deserve better. I stopped. I took a deep breath. I am not asking for revenge, Your Honor. I am asking for justice. I am asking for what is fair, and I am asking to be free. The room was silent. The judge looked at me. She nodded slowly. Thank you, Mrs. Bennett. You may sit. I walked back to my seat. My hands were shaking, but I felt lighter, stronger. The judge looked at both sides of the room. I will take a short recess to review the evidence. We will reconvene in 15 minutes. She stood up. Everyone stood. She walked out of the room. I sat back down. Rachel leaned over. You did great, she whispered. I nodded. I could not speak. I just sat there and waited. 15 minutes felt like hours. I sat in the hallway outside the courtroom with Rachel. She was calm, scrolling through her phone, checking emails. But I could not sit still. I kept bouncing my leg. I kept checking the time. Marcus, Claire, and Margaret were on the other side of the hallway. They were talking in low voices. Margaret kept looking at me. Her face was tight with anger. Claire looked nervous. She kept playing with her hair. Marcus just stared at the floor. Finally, the bailiff opened the door. The judge is ready. We all walked back inside. I sat down at the table. My heart was pounding. Rachel set her hand on my arm. Whatever happens, you did everything right, she whispered. The judge walked in. We all stood. She sat down. We sat. She looked at both sides of the room. Then she looked down at her notes. I have reviewed the evidence presented by both parties. Before I make my ruling, I have a few questions. She looked directly at Marcus. Mr. Bennett, stand up, please. Marcus stood. His face was pale. His hands were shaking. The judge leaned forward. Did you use marital funds to support this affair? Marcus opened his mouth. Nothing came out. He looked at his lawyer. His lawyer nodded. Marcus cleared his throat. I did not mean to. That is not what I asked, the judge said. Her voice was firm. Did you or did you not use funds from your joint account to pay for hotels, gifts, and transfers to Ms. Dawson? Marcus swallowed hard. Yes, he whispered. Louder, please. Yes, I did. The judge nodded. She wrote something down. Sit down. Marcus sat. He looked like he might be sick. Margaret shot up from her seat. Her face was red. Her voice was loud. She is lying. My son would never. Bah. The judge's head snapped up. Her eyes locked on Margaret. Ma'am, sit down. But she is. Sit down now. Margaret's mouth opened, then closed. She sat down slowly. Her hands were gripping the edge of the bench. The judge turned to Claire. Ms. Dawson, stand up. Claire stood. She looked scared now. Her confidence was gone. Did you receive money from Mr. Bennett while he was married to Mrs. Bennett? Yes, Claire said quietly. Did you accompany him on trips paid for with marital funds? Yes. Were you aware that he was married? Claire hesitated. She glanced at Marcus, then back at the judge. Yes. The judge nodded. You may sit. Claire started to turn toward the door. The judge's voice stopped her. Where are you going, Ms. Dawson? I thought I could leave. No, you are a witness in this case. You will stay until I dismiss you. Sit down. Claire sat. She looked like she wanted to disappear. Rachel stood up. Your Honor, I have one final piece of evidence I would like to present. The judge nodded. Go ahead. Rachel walked to the center of the room. She held up her phone. This is a recorded phone call between Mr. Bennett and his friend David Cole. The call took place on August 7th of this year. In this conversation, Mr. Bennett admits to the affair. He also discusses his plans to file for divorce first in order to avoid losing assets. The judge raised her eyebrows. Play it. Rachel connected her phone to the courtroom speaker. She pressed play. The sound of static filled the room. Then Marcus's voice came through, clear, unmistakable. Dude, I cannot do this anymore. Living with her is exhausting. Another voice responded, David, so leave. I cannot just leave. She will take everything, the house, the savings, all of it. So what are you going to do? I am going to file first. My lawyer said if I do it right, I can keep most of it. She does not even know. She thinks everything is fine. David laughed. You are brutal, man. Marcus laughed too. She will never leave me. She has nowhere to go. She is too weak. I just need to wait for the right time. The recording stopped. The room was silent, completely silent. I could hear my own breathing, steady, calm. I was not crying. I was not shaking. I just sat there, finally free of the lies. The judge stared at Marcus. Her face was hard. Mr. Bennett, is that your voice? Marcus did not answer. Mr. Bennett, answer the question. Yes, he said. His voice cracked. The judge leaned back in her chair. She folded her hands. I have heard enough. She looked at Marcus's lawyer. Does the defense have anything else to present? The lawyer stood up. He looked defeated. No, Your Honor. Then I am ready to make my ruling. My chest tightened. This was it. Rachel squeezed my hand under the table. The judge opened her file. She looked at me, then at Marcus. In the matter of Bennett versus Bennett, I find in favor of the petitioner, Mrs. Bennett. The evidence clearly shows that Mr. Bennett engaged in adultery and used marital funds to support that affair. He also demonstrated intent to deceive and manipulate the division of assets. She paused. She looked directly at Marcus. Mr. Bennett, your behavior has been reprehensible. You betrayed your wife. You lied to this court, and you attempted to defraud her out of what she is legally entitled to. I am awarding Mrs. Bennett 55% of all marital assets. This includes the family home, the joint savings account, and any shared investments. You will also be responsible for paying her legal fees in full. Margaret gasped. Claire's mouth fell open. Marcus just sat there, frozen. The judge continued. Additionally, I am ordering Mr. Bennett to pay spousal support in the amount of $2,000 per month for the next 3 years. This is not negotiable. This is not appealable based on the evidence presented today. She closed the file. This marriage is dissolved. Mrs. Bennett, you are free to go. Mr. Bennett, I suggest you take a long look at your choices. She stood up. Court is adjourned. Everyone stood. The judge walked out. The door closed behind her. I stood there for a moment. I could not move. I could not speak. Rachel turned to me. She was smiling. You did it, she said. You won. I nodded, slowly, then faster. Then I felt it. The weight lifting off my chest, the tightness in my throat loosening. I was free, actually free. Behind me, I heard Margaret shouting at Marcus. I heard Claire crying. I heard Marcus's lawyer packing up his papers. But I did not turn around. I did not care. I picked up my purse. I walked toward the door. Rachel followed me. As I reached the door, I stopped. I turned around. Just once. I looked at Marcus. He was sitting at the table with his head in his hands. His mother was yelling at him. Claire was gone. He looked up. Our eyes met. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something. I did not wait to hear it. I turned around and walked out. I stood in the hallway outside the courtroom. My legs felt weak. My hands were still shaking. But I was standing. I was breathing. I was here. Rachel was next to me. She was putting papers back into her folder. She looked calm, satisfied. How do you feel? She asked. I did not know how to answer. I felt too many things at once. Relief, anger, sadness, freedom. I feel lighter, I said finally. Rachel smiled. Good, you should. Behind us, the courtroom door opened. People started filing out. I saw Marcus's lawyer first. He walked past us without looking. Then I saw Margaret. Her face was red. Her eyes were puffy. She glared at me as she walked by. I did not look away. I just stared back. She turned the corner and disappeared. Then Claire came out. She was crying. Her mascara was running down her face. She looked broken, lost. She stopped when she saw me. For a moment, I thought she might say something, but she did not. She just walked past me with her head down. Then Marcus came out. He walked slowly. His shoulders were slumped. His tie was loose. He looked older, tired, defeated. He stopped in front of me. He opened his mouth. I could see him trying to find words. I dash. His lawyer appeared behind him. He put a hand on Marcus's shoulder and shook his head. "Do not say anything," the lawyer said quietly. Marcus closed his mouth. He looked at me one more time. I did not say anything. I did not cry. I just looked at him. The man I used to love. The man who broke me. The man who did not deserve another second of my time. He turned and walked away. I watched him go. I waited until he was out of sight. Then I let out a long breath. Rachel touched my arm. "Let's go." I nodded. I picked up my purse. I gathered the papers Rachel handed me. Then I turned toward the elevator. As we walked, Rachel spoke. "The house is yours. The savings account will be split, but you are getting the larger share because of his misconduct. He will also be paying your legal fees. All of them. And the spousal support starts next month." I nodded. I was listening, but it all felt distant, like it was happening to someone else. We stepped into the elevator, the doors closed. Rachel looked at me. "You did it," she said. "You won." I looked at her, then I smiled. It was small at first, then it grew. It was the first real smile I had felt in months. "I did," I said. The elevator doors opened. We stepped into the lobby. It was bright, loud. People were everywhere. Lawyers, families, court staff. And then I saw them. Reporters. They were standing outside the front doors. Cameras, microphones, notepads. At least 6 of them. I stopped walking. "What are they doing here?" I asked. Rachel sighed. "Someone must have tipped them off. High-profile divorce cases sometimes attract attention. Just keep walking. Do not say anything. Do not stop." I took a deep breath. I straightened my shoulders. I held my head up. We pushed through the doors. Immediately, the reporters swarmed. "Mrs. Bennett, how do you feel about the ruling?" "Mrs. Bennett, do you have anything to say to your husband?" "Mrs. Bennett, were you surprised by the judge's decision?" I did not stop. I did not look at them. I just kept walking. One foot in front of the other. Rachel was next to me. She was blocking some of the cameras with her body. "No comment," Rachel said firmly. "No comment." The reporters followed us down the steps. Their voices got louder, more desperate. "Mrs. Bennett, just one question." I reached the sidewalk. I kept walking. My car was parked across the street. I could see it. I just needed to get there. Rachel stayed close. She kept saying no comment. She kept pushing them back gently but firmly. Finally, we reached my car. I unlocked it and opened the door. I slid into the driver's seat. Rachel leaned down and looked at me through the window. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. "I am okay." She smiled. "You did it. You won." I smiled back. "Thank you, Rachel, for everything. You do not need to thank me. You did this. You were brave. You were strong. And you are free now." I felt my eyes water, but I did not cry. I just nodded. Rachel stepped back. I closed the door. I started the engine. I looked in the rearview mirror and saw the reporters still standing on the courthouse steps. But they were not following me anymore. They were gone. I pulled out of the parking spot and drove away. I did not go back to the hotel. I drove to the house. My house now. I pulled into the driveway and sat there for a moment. I looked at the front door, the windows, the lawn. It looked the same, but it felt different. It felt like mine. I got out of the car and walked to the door. I unlocked it and stepped inside. The house was quiet, empty. Marcus had already taken his things. His clothes were gone. His shoes. His laptop. The cologne bottle that used to sit on the bathroom counter. All of it. Gone. I walked through the room slowly. The living room, the kitchen, the bedroom. I touched the walls, the counters, the furniture. I was reclaiming it, making it mine again. I went upstairs to the guest bedroom. The bed was still unmade. The sheets were still wrinkled. I pulled them off and threw them in the trash. I would buy new ones, clean ones that did not smell like betrayal. Then I went into my bedroom. I sat on the edge of the bed. I looked around. I thought about all the nights I spent here, all the times I cried myself to sleep, all the times I wondered if I was the problem. But I was not the problem. I never was. I pulled out my phone. I opened my messages. I saw a text from Rachel. Take some time for yourself. Rest. Heal. You deserve it. I smiled. I typed back, thank you. I will. I set my phone down. I lay back on the bed. I stared at the ceiling, and for the first time in a long time, I felt peace. 3 weeks after the trial, I moved out of the house. I could have stayed. It was mine now, legally. But every room reminded me of him, of the lies, of the pain. I did not want to live in a museum of my old life. I wanted something new, something that was only mine. I found a small apartment downtown. It was on the fourth floor of an old building. The rent was reasonable, the landlord was kind, and it had big windows, huge ones, the kind that let in so much light you could not help but feel hopeful. The day I moved in, I brought almost nothing, just my clothes, my laptop, a few dishes. I left everything else behind. The furniture, the pictures, the memories. I did not need them anymore. I stood in the middle of the empty apartment and looked around. The walls were white, the floors were hardwood, the kitchen was tiny but clean. It was perfect. Yeah, I spent the first week filling it with things that made me happy. I bought plants, lots of them, a fern for the corner, succulents for the windowsill, a tall fiddle leaf fig that I named Lucy. I did not know if I could keep them alive, but I wanted to try. I bought books, stacks of them, novels I always wanted to read but never had time for, poetry, memoirs, self-help books about starting over. I lined them up on a small bookshelf I found at a thrift store. I hung curtains, light blue ones that moved with the breeze when I opened the windows. I bought a soft blanket for the couch, candles that smelled like lavender, a coffee maker that worked. Slowly, the apartment started to feel like home. One afternoon, I sat on the floor with my phone in my hand. I scrolled through my contacts. I found Marcus's number. I stared at it for a long time. Then I pressed block. I did the same with Margaret's number and Claire's and anyone else who had made me feel small, less than, broken. I deleted their emails, their messages, every photo, every reminder. Then I turned off my phone and sat in the silence. It felt good, clean, like I had just taken a long shower after being covered in dirt. I started building a routine. I woke up early, I made coffee, I watered my plants, I read by the window, I went for walks in the park near my apartment, I tried new restaurants, I went to the library, I signed up for a yoga class. At first it felt strange. Being alone, not having to check in with anyone, not having to explain where I was going or when I would be back. But after a while it started to feel normal. Natural. Right. One morning, I woke up and made breakfast. I sat at my small kitchen table and ate scrambled eggs. I drank my coffee. I looked out the window at the city below. And then I realized something. I had not thought about Marcus in 3 days. 3 whole days. I smiled. It was a small victory, but it felt huge. A week later, I started a new job. It was at a marketing firm downtown. Nothing fancy, but it was stable. The people were kind. My boss was a woman named Laura. She was in her 50s, smart, confident. She treated me with respect. She asked for my opinions. She listened when I spoke. On my first day, she took me to lunch. We sat at a small cafe and talked, not about work, about life, about books, about travel, about what it meant to start over. You seem like someone who has been through something, she said gently. I nodded. I am, I said. Good, she said. That means you are stronger than most people, and we need strong people here. I felt my chest tighten, but it was not a bad tightness. It was gratitude. Over the next few weeks, I made friends, real friends, people who did not know Marcus, people who did not know my story unless I chose to tell them, people who liked me for who I was now. Not who I used to be. There was Emma. She worked in graphic design. She had short red hair and always wore bright colors. She made me laugh. She invited me to her book club. I went. I talked about books. I drank wine. I felt normal. There was James. He worked in accounting. He was quiet but kind. He brought me coffee on my first week. We started eating lunch together. He never asked about my past. He just accepted me as I was. I started to feel like myself again. Not the version of me that Marcus wanted, not the version his mother approved of, just me. One evening, I came home from work and opened my laptop. I had an email from Rachel. The subject line said, "Final update." I opened it. He tried to appeal the ruling. His lawyer filed the paperwork last week, but the judge denied it. The decision is final. You are officially free. Congratulations. I read the email twice. Then I closed my laptop. I sat back in my chair and let out a long breath. It was over. Really over. I stood up and walked to the kitchen. I filled the kettle with water and turned on the stove. I pulled out my favorite mug, the one I bought for myself. Not the one he gave me, not the one Claire used. This one was mine, white with tiny yellow flowers painted on the side. I made tea, I added honey, I stirred it slowly, then I carried it to the window. I stood there and looked out at the city, the buildings, the lights, the people walking below. The sky was turning pink and orange. The sun was setting. I took a sip of tea. It was warm, sweet, perfect. I thought about everything I had been through: the pain, the lies, the betrayal, the fear, the anger, the sadness. But I also thought about everything I had gained: my freedom, my strength, my voice, my life. I smiled, a real smile, the kind that comes from deep inside, the kind that means you are healing. I was not the same woman who walked into that restaurant 6 months ago. I was not the woman who cried herself to sleep in the guest room. I was not the woman who begged for love from someone who did not deserve it. I was someone new, someone stronger, someone who chose herself. And that felt like everything. 6 months passed. 6 months of mornings that felt lighter. 6 months of nights where I slept without nightmares. 6 months of learning how to be alone without feeling lonely. I had settled into my new life. My apartment felt like home. My job was going well. Laura had promoted me to senior account manager. I was leading projects, making decisions, being heard. Emma and I went to book club every Thursday. James and I grabbed lunch every Tuesday. I joined a pottery class on weekends. I was terrible at it, but I did not care. It was fun. It was mine. I had not heard from Marcus in months. I had not thought about him much either. Sometimes late at night, a memory would surface. But it did not hurt anymore. It was just a fact. Something that happened. Something I survived. One Saturday morning, I decided to go to my favorite cafe. It was a small place near the park. They made the best lattes. I liked to sit by the window and read. I walked in and ordered my usual vanilla latte, extra foam. The barista smiled and wrote my name on the cup. I paid and waited by the counter. I looked around the cafe. It was busy. Couples, friends, people working on laptops. I liked the noise, the energy. It felt alive. Then I saw him, Marcus. He was sitting at a table in the corner, alone. He had a coffee in front of him, but he was not drinking it. He was just staring at it. His shoulders were slumped. His hair was longer, messier. He looked tired, older, broken. My chest tightened, not with sadness, not with anger, just with surprise. The barista called my name. I picked up my latte and turned to leave. But then Marcus looked up. Our eyes met. He froze, then he stood up, slowly, like he was not sure if he should. I did not move. I just stood there holding my coffee. He walked toward me. He stopped a few feet away. He looked nervous, guilty. "Hi," he said. His voice was quiet, rough. "Hi," I said. We stood there in silence. People moved around us. The cafe kept buzzing, but we were still. "Can we talk?" he asked. I looked at him, really looked at him. He was not the man I married. He was not even the man who betrayed me. He was someone else now, someone smaller, sadder. "Okay," I said. We sat down at his table. I set my coffee down. He sat across from me. He did not know where to put his hands. He kept moving them, fidgeting. I did not expect to see you here, he said. I come here a lot. Oh, silence. He cleared his throat. How have you been? Good, I said, and I meant it. Really good. He nodded. He looked down at his coffee. I have been not good. I did not say anything. I just waited. Claire left, he said, a few weeks after the trial. She said she could not do this anymore. She said I had nothing to offer her. I took a sip of my latte. I did not react. He continued. My mom stopped calling. She said I embarrassed her. She said I ruined everything. She will not even talk to me now. I set my cup down. I am sorry to hear that, I said. And I was. Not because I felt bad for him, but because I knew what it felt like to lose people, even people who hurt you. He looked up at me. His eyes were red, watery. I am so sorry, he said. His voice cracked. I am so sorry for everything I did to you. I was selfish, I was cruel, I was wrong, and I know it is too late. I know you will never forgive me, but I need you to know that I regret it every single day. I looked at him. I saw the pain in his face, the regret, the brokenness, and I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, not even pity, just nothing. I appreciate you saying that, I said calmly, but I do not need your sorry anymore. He blinked. Tears rolled down his cheeks. What do you mean? I mean, I do not need it. I do not need your apology to move on. I already have. I do not need your regret to feel whole. I already am. He stared at me. He looked lost. I spent so long waiting for you to see me, I continued, to love me, to choose me, but you never did. And for a long time, I thought that meant something was wrong with me, but it did not. It meant something was wrong with you. He opened his mouth to speak, but I kept going. I am not angry anymore, Marcus. I am not hurt anymore. I am just free. And I do not need anything from you to stay that way. I stood up. I picked up my coffee. I hope you find peace, I said. I really do, but I do not need to be part of that journey. I turned and walked toward the door. He did not follow me, he just sat there. I stepped outside into the cool morning air. I took a deep breath. I felt light, clear, free. I walked home slowly. I did not think about Marcus. I did not replay the conversation. I just walked. When I got back to my apartment, I made lunch. I watered my plants. I read a few chapters of my book. Then, as the sun started to set, I pulled out my journal. I had started journaling a few months ago. Rachel suggested it. She said it helped with healing. At first, I did not know what to write, but over time it became easier. I opened the journal to a blank page. I picked up my pen, and I wrote. I did not just survive, I became someone I am proud of. I read the words back to myself. Then I closed the journal. I set it on the nightstand. I turned off the light. I lay in bed and looked at the ceiling. The moonlight was coming through the curtains. The city outside was quiet. I closed my eyes. I felt my body relax, my mind clear. I was finally completely free. Now, don't forget to rate this story and subscribe if you want more stories like this one.